Jim, we talked to Paul about this, but I'll ask you as well. David Bell, when you watch what he's accomplished, in particular this past week against would have been a pretty good defense, what are some of the things that jump out from him?
Just extremely impressive in everything he does. I mean, he's been really talented his entire career, right? He plays with great patience. He attacks the football. He understands concepts and space and time. He's a really fun to watch as a former DB and defensive coordinator. Obviously, you just watch the way they use him, the way they move him, create targets for him, and he shows up week in and week out and produces for him. So he's impressive. I love the way he plays. I like his style of play. Great balance, great physicality when he needs it, and he'll go attack the football.
When you say patience, can you expand on what you mean by a receiver?
I mean, I think when you watch young players, old players, but when you see them dictate how DBs play, right? You see him at the top of his route, right? Within the intermediate part of his route at the line of scrimmage, he seems like he's always in control, and he's always doing things for a reason. He's very efficient in his movement. I think that looks a lot of times like, oh, I don't think he's that fast, or I don't think he's that quick. I mean, he's just extremely efficient because he's always creating space. He's always getting to the windows he needs to get to. But sometimes you watch it on tape and you're like, man, it just doesn't seem like he's working that hard. And I think it's subtle, but when you see that just week in and week out, it's pretty impressive to watch. Kind of have that control over the guy across from you, right? And the scheme and understanding when he has to show up, kind of in that window for the quarterback.
Jim, are there things you've seen behind the scenes with Colin Wilder that he's done to establish himself as a leader with this team? And on the field, what has he provided now that he's getting the most consistent reps of his career here?
Yeah, I think he's so consistent in his approach that immediately teammates respect that. He cares, right? He's always going to be vocal. He's always going to go grab a young guy that's struggling, or he's always going to just try to provide some motivation for somebody. So, when you're as consistent as he is doing those little things, you gain a lot of respect from players, coaches, kind of anyone around the building. You see how he approaches the day. And then, yeah, he's physical and he plays fast. That's the number one thing about Colin, and that's been since he's gotten into this program is, like, there's no hesitation. When he makes a decision, when he decides to let it go, like, he plays at that speed the rest of the play. Good, bad, right, wrong, but you see a guy who trusts what he sees, has confidence, and knows that his difference-making ability is the physicality and the play speed that he plays with. So it's fun as a safeties coach. He's got to take advantage of some opportunities in the pass game. We've talked about that, but you love the way he plays because guys feed off of that energy. And he's a guy that every week or every couple of weeks he's going to make a hit, and you just see how the team responds to it. It's fun to watch him play.
Jim, sticking with another safety, John Torchio, unique situation last week, getting to play pretty much every snap. What did you see from him getting a full game of reps under his belt like that?
Obviously a unique week with the personnel groupings there. We went with three safeties in one corner, and had impactful game. Physical, made a couple big stops for us and clean up his eyes a little bit in some situations, but he has a rare mix of being able to play physical and really has a good knack for the football, and has made plays in both areas throughout his career. And excited for a guy like that to get an opportunity to really get on the field and prove to those guys around him, and hopefully he'll continue to build off that confidence really throughout the rest of the season.
Jim, we talked about after the game with the players about the way Leo affected the game for you guys against Army, and the way he's done it all year. Kloftis for Purdue, I don't know how much you've looked at their defense, but how does he affect other teams with what he can do defensively?
Anytime you have a guy who can just wreck a game, it's pretty fun to coach. Makes things a lot easier. You turn on their tape on defense and you see, similar we talked to Bell, like you see teams scheming him, right? Whereas a lot of college football teams, we do what we do. This is how we play. This is the schemes we use. It doesn't matter. Like you see teams that don't do that versus anybody else, and they're chipping him every play, or they're running away from him, whatever the case may be. When you see guys that earn that type of respect, you know the type of players they are, because most college teams aren't going to do that. That's more NFL style of this guy's not going to wreck the game. And shockingly, he still does almost every single week, finds a way to almost win the game for him, the sack, forced fumble, TFL, whatever the situation may be. He's a guy you have to be aware of every play, and tremendous physicality, and he's fun to watch as a defense. You will take a couple of those guys as well. And you mentioned Leo. I mean, pretty impressive what he was able to do. It looked like probably 90% of the high school games he played in, right, playing that style of offense. And but it's fun. He had a ton of fun. He respects that style of football. He loves physicality. I think he said it after the game. Like, he loves physical football. He knows that's the type you got to play. You got to be disciplined. Got to play with great eyes. And when in doubt, you got to scratch and claw and jump over somebody and get up. Like, that's how he loves to play ball. So great to see him impact that game in such a huge way.
Jim, I think you've been asked a couple times this season about being able to finish off games a little bit better. Was Saturday an example of that? After Leo made the play, would you have liked to seen your guys close the door a little bit better?
Yeah, absolutely. At that point of the game, you play a triple option team, you're playing that chess match. They found a couple things that were giving us issues, and they hit them at the end. They were getting a little bit creative, a little out of structure at times, and they got us, some eye discipline issues, and then the kid makes a throw. I mean, the throw they hit on their sideline, really impressive, from taking a hit, putting the ball placement where he was, you tip of the cap on that one. But, yeah, absolutely, you want to finish that game off better. We were in such control for a long period of time and limiting explosives and all that type of stuff, and to kind of get on your heels towards the end of the game is never the way you want to end it. But at the same time, you kind of understand how it happens against a team like that, because it is a giant chess match. And once they find something that hits, you got to get it corrected really quickly. We weren't able to quite get that done at the end.
Jim, you've talked before about how smart your players are. They know what's going on around the league, around the team. Does the fact that Purdue beat Iowa change the big picture outlook in terms of the message or how this team may approach things, knowing that there is an opportunity now if we take care of business, even though there's several weeks to go?
Yeah, I mean, it's early enough in the season where you feel like you still have control over your destiny, especially playing so many teams in the West coming up. Anything can happen. The Big Ten is wide open on the West side, and we're excited. We got a big one this week. Purdue played extremely well, obviously both sides of the ball last week, and it's a team that's given us issues. We've had some shootouts. We've had some fun games to be a part of because we've won most of them. But they're a talented football team. They execute well schematically. They do some really good things that challenge you. So I think our guys see that. They understand that, and they understand that everything that we want to do is still out front of us, and we gotta play well. We gotta execute. We gotta make a little bit of noise here in this side of the conference, and hopefully we can get hot and build off of some of the momentum we have right now, and just continue to push forward.
Jim, I know that you're scouting the Purdue offense, but George Karloftis, for Purdue for the defensive line, just what do you see out of him, as a player that could be disruptive, and just what he can, what he causes, how he benefits the Purdue defense?
It's physicality, first and foremost. If you're lined up across from him, don't be laid off the ball, right? Don't forget to bring your hands. Don't take the wrong angle. And said from a pass rush standpoint, it all comes from the power he has, the ability to get off the ball. I said you see teams adjusting their offense every week to try to slow him down, and that's a huge credit to him. He's been a great player from day one when he stepped in the Big Ten, and I think you see the leadership. You see how his guys feed off of him. They're able to do a lot of different things around him because of the disruption that he causes.
Jim, we talked about David Bell, but someone's got to get him the ball, and OConnell appeared to have a pretty good game Saturday. And if I remember correctly, he played here in 2019. Mm-hmm. What do you see from him in terms of his ability to run that offense the way Braum wants it run?
Number one, you see the timing and the rhythm that he plays with. I think he's smart. I think they're very well coached on offense. They do a great job of creating space, and like he's the guy pulling the trigger back there more often than not. I think he plays with, once again, good rhythm, good ball placement, and give those receivers a chance to catch and run. You know, you see a lot of times where they're creating yards after the catch, yards after contact. Obviously last week with Bell, a ton, but you see that consistently where he's not only getting the ball to him, he's getting them to him on time to allow him to square DBs up or catch and run situations. And he's impressive. You know, you can tell he understands coverages and DB rotations and kind of how he works through their concepts. Well taught. Like I said, they do a great job of creating space for those receivers and tight ends and running backs when they use them in the pass game. And I said he's distributing the ball to a lot of different people. So he's got a lot of confidence in the skill they have, and they love giving guys one-on-one opportunities. And he's got a lot of experience now. He's played a lot of football games for them and been in some big moments. So he's a guy that we got to give different looks. You know, we have to kind of play around his DBs and do some things that, you know, some weeks you can just line up and play ball. He'll pick you apart if he knows the coverage every down.
Jim, why do you think that Braylon Allen has been able to handle this jump up to the college level, being a 17-year-old guy? Like, did you ever see a moment in training camp maybe where he needed to maybe take a step back, or how has he been able to handle this so well?
Have you looked at him? No. Yeah, obviously very mature for being as young as he is. Very, very mature. You know, we all know the physical tools that he has, but emotionally, like, same guy every day. Just comes in, knows he has high goals, and just comes and works and keeps his mouth shut and just powers forward. So you love the approach that he has. And he said it's a little bit wise beyond his years to just, you know, put his head down and just get to work. But you knew that. You saw that early on in the recruiting process. You saw his focus and just the ability for him to just work and kind of block out the noise. So fun to watch him. You know, he's still going to find a way to play some defense. Don't worry. We'll steal him back at some point. But he's doing a great job, and he's a tone setter. There's no question about that. You see the physicality. I think you see anytime you get a big back like that, you see an O-line just kind of get a different look in their eye, knowing that, all right, let's give him some space, get him rolling downhill. But it's fun to watch. You know, anytime you see young players just kind of coming into their own and making plays consistently and just continuing to develop. As a coach, you can't ask for anything more than that.
Time for one more. Jim, Steve?
Just wondering, you mentioned what Leo did against Army last week, and I'm just wondering in general, what's the difference you've seen in his game this year since he's been made available? How has he kind of been able to step things up?
To me, it probably goes to recognition. You know, last year we knew if it looks like Leo's a little out of sorts, let's go downhill. Right? Let's get him going and impact it physically a little bit, try to take a little thinking off his plate. And now you've just seen the football intelligence just continuing to grow with experience and just reps in this defense. He's making plays in different ways that maybe last year, especially early in the season, he wasn't quite ready to do. And it's fun to watch, once again, players grow and just continue to develop kind of new things that surprise you at times. You know, the physicality, the play speed, all that stuff, you know that's going to be there. The intensity he brings. Anytime you watch a guy just continue to make different types of plays, and it's fun because you realize they're getting more confident, they're getting more comfortable in the scheme, and that's, to me, the number one thing this year is you're just seeing the versatility he's showing within this defense is pretty cool to watch. And the way he works off of Jack now, like before it was like, hey, Leo, you go, and Jack, you can kind of make it right. And now we're able to go back and forth. And it really is fun to see those guys play together.